There are very few times in life when calling upon the majority opinion is necessary or appropriate. But sometimes there are arguable reasons that the majority prefers some installments over another in a series. In this case, that's A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back for the Star Wars saga. Now, it's undeniable that these are the most acclaimed, with inclinations towards Empire Strikes Back, but A New Hope has its nostalgic fan base. Now, these two films are distinct for reasons you might not know. These are the films in which Lucas had the least control over. Now, as the series progressed, he had more and more control. By Return of the Jedi, his death grip on the saga was tightening. By the time the prequel trilogy came, he had reached total dominion. He was a writer and director with very few script consultants. He had some, but essentially they were yes men. Now, what separated A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back is that Lucas was surrounded by highly talented people, especially on A New Hope. I'm going to read you a quote about the writing process for A New Hope. There are some of those who, in addition to being screenwriters, are directors and friends of mine. Coppola, whom I've already mentioned, Phil Kaufman, Martin Scorsese, and Brian De Palma. I show them all my footage and they give me precious opinions that I count on. I wrote the first version of Star Wars, we discussed it, and I realized I hated the script. I chucked it and started a new one, which I also threw in the trash. That happened 4 times with 4 radically different versions. After each version I had a discussion with those friends. Notice what I bolded there for your benefit. If there was a good scene in the first version, I included it in the second, and so on. The script was constructed this way, scene by scene. What we have here is something that Lucas didn't have for the other films. A very competent team of consultants who knew what they were doing, such as Francis Ford Coppola, who went on to direct The Godfather. I'll let that speak for itself. You have Phil Kaufman, Martin Scorsese, Brian De Palma he mentions, and those are only to name a few. Now, on Empire Strikes Back, a little known fact that has gone unrecognized by, I'd say, 95% of the fan base is that this film was not directed by George Lucas. It was directed by Irvin Kershner. Now, it's been well recorded that about the only contribution Lucas had during the production of Empire Strikes Back was to call Irvin Kershner on the phone from overseas and bitch him out for being over schedule. Yeah, I mean, he visited the set a few times, but that's it. He was the writer, but not the director. Irvin Kershner doesn't have that good of a track record when it comes to directing. He had RoboCop, which is okay, I guess. But I think the genre of what Star Wars is was befitting of his style overall. I give credit where it's due. I realize that George Lucas is the one who instigated the Star Wars craze. He's the one who put it all together initially. But I'd say that most fanboys are deluded when they say that Star Wars is Lucas's brainchild. It's not. That's not the case at all. It's a result of teamwork, of people who helped him out, people who weren't afraid to say no. Star Wars films are those in which Lucas had the least control over, and I would go as far as to say that he made it, but he didn't make it great. He doesn't have the ability to. He puts ideas on the table, and that's where he belongs. I call this a great wild space war, but I really don't think that I'll be seeing any arguments that can counter my points. But I do welcome the worthy opponent who does have a worthy argument, a well thought out argument, someone who has some degree of sophistication, and most of all, someone who has done their research. Because they're going to have a difficult time besting me in that.